and we have a super fun theme. So it's going to be a fun hour. And we always like to just sort of shout out some past guests and their good news. I would love for anyone here to also put any great news from the week or something they're thinking about in the chats. And if you don't know how to do that, Megan's going to go through that in just a minute. But I wanted to share that our good friend Joy Sterling from Iron Horse released her first canned wine. It's a Chardonnay called Tin Horse, which is really delicious. And we also have our good friend from Lugs for Grace, Grace Lee, doing picnic baskets. And my mom's going to try them on this Saturday with a bunch of friends. So we're going to get a bunch of those delivered, which will be really fun. And Dr. Megan Appleman got time off from the hospital. So that's a really good piece of news that I'm very excited about. And I just want to share for everyone, if this time or next time or any other time you want to follow along and make the cocktail, make the pineapple upside down cake in a rice cooker, we always put all the recipes up on the virtual BOOZY brunch webpage. And you can also find old episodes and all kinds of stuff. You can fall down the rabbit hole. We also keep all of your Instagram posts. We love to see those. And when you hashtag them virtual BOOZY brunch, I keep them in my highlights on Instagram. So that's really fun too. You can always measure your cocktail up against Cahos and see how you did, because as we all know, he's an amazing, I don't even want to call him an amateur mixologist or bartender because he is like super talented. So without any further ado, this is Dr. Megan Appleman, and she is going to start on her co-hosting for today. Megan, what you got?
Hi friends. So just a little preamble. I worked 24 hours from 7 a.m. yesterday to 7 a.m. today. So if I get a little tipsy, a little faster than normal, please forgive me.
Essential worker. Thank you, Megan.
But I could not miss this episode. I'm so excited. So for everyone who's been here, you guys all kind of know how this works, but for anyone who's watching or who maybe jumps in, who doesn't know exactly what we're doing, everyone's going to be muted throughout the program. So if you want to participate, really jump into the chats. It's super fun. Everyone in there is chatting, talking. You can share thoughts that you have. You can give compliments on other people's cute outfits, which is always nice. And then if you have any questions, be prepared to be spotlighted. So jump in there, ask your questions, and then we can unmute anyone at any point in time so you can ask your question to our experts who are kind of chatting and leading us through. As you're watching, there's a couple different ways that you can watch. Me and Belinda personally like to watch in gallery mode so that we can see what everyone's doing. But you can switch.
We love to real estate stock, Megan. We love to see what's going on behind you.
You can see all your cute cars. This is the first time I've had my bar on camera, so I was like, I had to set it up today. But you can switch in gallery mode, or you can watch the speaker if you really want to focus and not get distracted by everything that everyone's doing. But keep in mind that, you know, don't pick your nose or anything because other people can see you the whole time.
I've seen that happen.
Thank you guys all for joining us. We're gonna have a lot of fun, and thank you for staying at home. You know, you're really doing a lot to help keep the people in your community safe, and you're doing a lot to help make my Sundays a lot better because I really enjoy doing this with all of you, and it helps make being in the house a little less grim.
Yay. So we also just want to take a minute to thank last week's guests. We had such a fun show last week. The theme was texture, and we did sake at 3 different temperatures side by side, the same sake, and learned a lot about how much temperature changes the texture of that drink. We also had Lisa, who's back this week. She did a little tour of the Somras cream liqueurs and all the really fun things you can make with them cocktail wise. And we're going to have her back soon because now I'm determined to bake with all these deliciously flavored cream liqueurs from Somras. And then we talked a little bit about it. Damien, who wasn't able to join us, but he's going to schedule for a later date. So we'll get to learn more about At Not a Plant Shop. And then Megan, since pineapple is like your thing, which I didn't know until we started talking about you coming to join us today, please introduce our theme.
Yeah, so I am super excited about this theme. Belinda actually didn't know when she sent me the link. I was like, what? It's pineapple? That's crazy. All of my friends know that it's my absolute favorite. One of my friends gifted me these pineapple earrings, if you can see them.
Nice.
My best friend's Natalie. Her and her family go to Hawaii every year, and she's tried to bring me back pineapples like 3 or 4 times. They haven't always worked out, but one of them was incredible. And so just a little bit of background about why we chose pineapple as the theme this week and why pineapples are actually really interesting. So there are local to actually only South America. They are originally from South America. And then, you know, as the spread of colonialism came by, they spread all over the world. So now most of them are actually produced in South America as well as Southeast Asia. Maybe it's why I like those regions so much. Originally, when pineapples went all around the world, they were super duper expensive. Okay, people had to basically rent them because people all over the world wanted to have them, and you could only grow them in really specific climates. So it was a sign of like wealth and power that you could have these like really fancy greenhouses where you could grow pineapples, and then you could lend them out to your rich friends who could put them on tables like what I'm doing right now. As decoration. People did not eat them because
people rented pineapples. That's amazing.
Fancy and way too expensive for people to just eat them. So they've kind of come to represent throughout the world luxury and hospitality. So I think it's really cool that we're using that specifically this week, and how you're going to see how it kind of ties into everything that we do, especially when talking about hospitality. And, you know, it's a field that everyone here is probably pretty interested in. So
very
I'm
interested
to talk about what we're doing this week.
Fun. Okay, so here's what we're going to do today as relates to the godly and wonderful pineapple. So Donovan from Money Gun's going to take us through a pina colada that a lot of us are set up to make. So I can't wait for that because I don't think I've ordered one of those at a restaurant since I was under 21. And then we're going to decorate these beautiful cakes with a kit that was put together for us by Joey from Flavor Supreme. And I'm also making a rice cooker pineapple upside down cake recipe because I just need more cake in my life. And then lastly, we're going to learn about hospitality in an unusual and maybe surprising place for some from a very renowned architect, Henry Chow, who also happens to be my cousin. So if we are all ready, we're just going to do one little musical interlude. That's not the one I meant. I wanted to play Pineapple Princess, but I'm having a Wi-Fi issue. So you can just imagine the dulcet tones of Annette Funicello singing Pineapple Princess. And we're going to flip it over to Donovan because I know that Donovan probably has a bunch of tickets and drink tickets he needs to make. So Donovan, will you take us through very slowly this pina colada recipe, because I have my blender ready to go. I have all the things in the recipe ready to go. And I also want to remind the audience that if you love this recipe and have fun and want to support Donovan, we have listed his Venmo here. So in a lot of the virtual experiences, this one included, it's always good to tip the bartender if you can. All right, Donovan, show us how to do this. Do we have ya?
Boom. All right.
There he is.
Pina colada. I thought you were going to play that if you like Pina colada song, and that's no.
I was trying to, and I can't find it.
That's probably
my Spotify will only play Rihanna.
That's good Spotify. So Pina colada, like Belinda said, it's a cocktail that a lot of people forget about. You usually don't order it unless you're at a Chili's or Fridays, but here at Money Gun, we're all about embracing classic cocktails like that and bringing them back to the forefront and kind of making them in a way that the ingredients are a little friendly. So we're gonna start. Hamilton Gold Rum, Jamaican rum, got a lot of funky cooked banana on the palate. We're gonna do an ounce of that. This is one of my favorite rums. We do a lot of our cocktails.
Donovan, can you also tell us, I mean, is gold rum an official specification for rum? Is there
gold rum can be one of two things. If you have gold rum, you essentially have a rum that's been aged for a little bit, and there is really no distinction of how long that age needs to be. Or in a lot of cases with like a Bacardi Gold, you'll have rum that's just taken straight out of the pot and put with a little bit of caramel food coloring to kind of give it that gold tint. This specific rum is aged in American oak barrels for a little bit, but it's nothing that's too, aggressive. You're really not going to taste the barrel as much as you're going to taste a lot of baking spice, a lot of that pineapple, a lot of that banana. And this differs from like a Bacardi Gold that's going to be just a little sweeter and kind of have a little more of that caramel taste to it.
Gotcha. Cool. So the rum was first, and then second ingredient is the coconut rum.
Coconut rum. This one that we picked specifically is called Kalani. It's actually a Mexican product, and it's made from coconut milk with a little bit of maceration from the insides, the skin, and the flesh of the coconut. It's beautiful. It's got a great viscous texture to it that gives the cocktail a really good body. We're going to put an ounce of that in as well. I love splitting the base on rum cocktails because there's just so many cool different flavors and appellations of rum, and kind of mixing all of those together can really give you a lot of different flavors. With a product like this, there are different variations of coconut liqueur that you can get on the market that you can use on this. Malibu even works. We use a product called Shipwreck Coconut Rum as well, which has a really nice natural coconut flavor to it. It just makes a better cocktail. You got to spend a little bit more per bottle, but it's definitely worth it.
So Donovan Vinny's was out of that one. So I got this guy, the Clemens.
Ooh, you got the good stuff.
Right?
Yeah, we should just use that. Yeah, that's Martinique, if I'm not mistaken. Very, very good product. Oh. Next up, we are going to use 1.5 ounces of that pineapple syrup, that we made. This guy is made with 2 cups of pineapple juice, a little bit of water, super fine sugar, very simple. Not only does it work in a pina colada, you can put it on cake, you can drink it with Sprite, you can literally do anything with this. And it's got a little bit less pineapple juice than water, so that's why we're going to use a full 1.5 ounces, so our cocktail still has a little bit of sweetness, but has a really nice pineapple flavor. In this recipe as well, you'll notice that we put a little bit of citric acid in there as well. When you see a lot of cocktails with, tropical cocktails, you'll notice that they have a little lime in them. We chose to put citric acid. There you go. Boom. Was it hard to find? I hope it wasn't too bad.
No, you said the perfect thing. Go to Whole Foods or Target, and both of them had it. I didn't realize that at Target, it was in the canning and preserving section for all the people who do jams and stuff like that. Mm-hmm.
And so this just gives our syrup and our cocktail that little bit of tartness that we could get from lime juice, but we are a high volume bar, so we try to limit the touches as much as possible. So doing things like blending citric acid into our syrups gives us more flavor. And then last but not least, we're going to put 1 ounce of this, in this case, 50/50. But the beauty of this is you can use your favorite milk. If you're an oat milk fan, you like almond milk, any little variation that you like to put into your pina colada will give it a kind of a cool taste. Creams will change the texture. If you do heavy whip, you'll get kind of more of like a slushy consistency. There's a lot of different things you can do to make it either healthier or more fun with the cream component. Oh.
Is it time, Donovan? I love that you specifically told us 8 cubes of ice. That is an excellent bartender, into the details. Awesome.
So we're fortunate enough to use these cubes right here. I don't know if you can see these guys. They're perfect every time. There you go. If you don't have a mold, it usually is kind of hard to know how much ice to put into a blender. We've all been to family gatherings where someone puts way too much ice in the pina colada, but you got to drink it anyway. So always the standard for us in blended cocktails, be it pina coladas, pink swirls, anything like that, 8 will get you exactly where you need to be. Boom. We're going to put on our blender.
Because my ice isn't very good.
There you
I'm
go.
blending.
Look at that. Oh.
Nice job, Morgan.
There you go. And then we've got our little Poco Grande Hurricane glass. So we're gonna, oh yeah. You'll know right away when you see it hit the glass that you've got the right amount of froth on there. We're gonna garnish with some skewered cherries, the good kind that people eat too much of at the bar. Boom. We got a cocktail umbrella because you can't really have a pina colada without a cocktail umbrella.
I love that.
Our delivery guy didn't bring me pineapples, so we're going to have to do it with just the umbrella. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers, Donovan.
Oh, yeah. So you get your subtle pineapple. It shouldn't be too heavy. You should still taste both the coconut rum and the intricacies of the gold rum. You'll still get banana. And then the next time you make it, maybe play with the portions of rum, do more gold to coconut. This is a cocktail you can literally freestyle with and rarely turns out bad.
So are these pretty classic? So I have 2 questions. One, I want to hear about TGI Fridays. I know that you're local and you grew up in Hyde Park, so we love to support that. And also that you worked at TGI Fridays and kind of moved your way up. I mean, MEAGAN is an epic bar with a world-class reputation. So to be the director of a program at a place like this is pretty awesome. You know, tell us a little bit about the path and and how you got to where you are and what comes next.
Man. I actually started bartending by accident. I'm like you said, I'm a Hyde Parker. I went to the George Washington University in DC to study political science.
Wow.
I was working on Capitol Hill for a congressman out of the 2nd District of Chicago. We won't throw any names around, but unfortunately, he ended up.
Wow.
So I was out of a job and I needed to pay tuition. So I went to the TGI Fridays on campus and I applied to be a server. I got the job, but I was absolutely terrible at it.
Oh.
So my manager, he said, you can either quit or you can try me behind the bar. And not to sound cliche, but the rest is history. Moved back to Chicago, started bar backing, kind of worked my way up. And then I've always been a fan of Money Gun. Money Gun was open for about a year before I was fortunate enough to take over. And the ethos is kind of just a bar. And when you're in a city like Chicago, and there's such a high saturation of cocktail bars and restaurants and everything has its specific thing that they do. The appeal of Money Gun is it's just a bar where the vibe is set by the people working at the bar. Our cocktails are simple. And that's kind of how I got involved in the program. And it's been a cool couple years until the world decided to shut down, but we're making the best of it. We're connected to a patio out back, so we're still doing the best we can to get some hospitality to people and earn our pineapple tattoos.
And you also sell cocktails to go, and people can do delivery and also carry out, so we can support you that way as well.
Sure.
Hopefully Mika is putting your Venmo into the chat so everybody has that really easy, and we'll put that up again shortly. But so fun. I'm so happy to meet you, even though it's this way. And, you know, I have to say, when you were at a bar, and as you said, it's a place where the cocktails are a little more simple and classic, I feel like you have to be that much more of a badass, because people have sort of high expectations for how they're going to taste and how you do them. So kudos for that. So what's like looking forward, you know, what do you think is going to happen for you guys at Money Gun and for you, and, you know, what can we do to help?
We're fortunate that the city of Chicago has been close to on our best behavior. So we are hopefully looking forward to being able to do a little bit more with this space as we get into the fall months. Again, we're right in the middle of the West Loop, so the expectations are always high. So we're hoping actually that we can just dive back in and do some really creative, cool cocktail flights for everybody. We've got a really cool, dedicated staff. They're all working on side projects. It's like I just waiting to sound the horn, get everybody back together.
I need to drink a cocktail flight. That sounds good.
Most definitely. Please do. I'll be the first on the list.
You know,
Megan,
we're on a beach right now. Thank you so much. This is so good. And
Excellent.
I'm like ready to get over there and have a cocktail flight at the bar.
Look forward to it.
Cheers, everyone. So Megan and I originally planned that she would talk about the drinks and I would talk about the food, and I screwed it up. So Megan, why don't we just trade? Should we have you move into the next section for us?
Yeah, so the next section, we're going to be doing a couple of different things. Belinda is making an incredible pineapple upside down cake in her rice cooker, which I watched a tasty video of, and I am not confident that I could not mess up. So I'm really excited to see her pull this magical feat off. And then we have these incredible naked cakes that Flavor Supreme made for us that we're going to pretend like we know how to fancy decorate. So I have my camera. My best friend Nina is here with me. She helped blend the pina coladas, and she's gonna help me with decorating the cake, and hopefully we make it look like something that people want to eat, because it definitely is something that I want to eat looking at it right now.
It smells so good, right? I mean, this is amazing.
Yeah, it's like my dream. It's like my ideal cake, like white cake with pineapple. How could it be better than that? And then Belinda gave us beautiful flowers to put on top, so it's gonna be amazing. So yeah, we're gonna start doing that, and I can't wait to see Belinda flip this cake out of our rice cooker.
So I think we have an image of a cake that was actually done by Joey. I mean, they have such a really cool style, and as we said, the name of the Instagram is Flavor Supreme, and then it's also the name of a small business which is based here in Chicago from a pastry chef. And I think that Morgan Olson, who is a cherished and beloved virtual BOOZY brunch regular and also the global food and drink lead for Time Out, so super badass, knows so much about food and all the important personalities to know. So Morgan, I was hoping that you would say sort of a few words about where Flavor Supreme fits in and why we're also excited to have these cake kits and sort of try to emulate the style and all of that.
Yeah, you bet. It was funny when Belinda asked me to introduce Joey. I had to go back and look at when I first met them, and it was back in 2014. Joey was actually running an underground supper club, and I was writing about it for Red Eye when I worked over there. So that's when we first met, and since then, Joey has gone on to work at some of the best restaurants in Chicago, and most recently became their own boss and self-proclaimed cake zaddy, which is my favorite title of all time. And they founded Flavor Supreme. So it's all about unconventional presentation, unique flavors. And one of the things I love most about Joey and sourcing cakes from them is that all of the funds go toward education, advocacy, and endorsement of equitable foodways. So everything that is sourced for those cakes is organic, locally created, kind on the people who are harvesting the ingredients, and just really special and totally different from anything that you can get from your grocery store bakery. So that is who Joey is. Follow them at Flavor Supreme on Instagram. They are always posting the most amazing photos of truly stunning cakes.
So we're gonna try, Megan, Morgan, and myself in a little bit. Well, we're gonna do it now, actually. You guys have the cakes. You have all the sort of garnishes from Joey theirself. So that's kind of exciting. And I'm gonna tell everybody the flavors of the cakes because I just wanna make everyone have all the FOMO possible in this situation as you sip or eat whatever you're having for brunch day. So these are buttermilk cakes with finger lime syrup, pineapple curd because of our fun theme, lime lebne, so that's what everybody has in those little Ziploc bags, which we're gonna make into pastry bags, and then ground cherries, which are so cool looking. I think those are so neat, and I've never seen them garnish a cake before, and then edible flowers, of course. So the directions that we got, Megan and Morgan and Nina, is spread out the frosting in a large circle on top. As we saw from the original image that Nika put up for a second, Joey doesn't usually frost the entire cake. They just do kind of a thin layer on the top. So you can go ahead and pipe that on, but really, you know, do whatever you want. And then after you get that part, then it's just going with your gut to place the fruit and make little forests and little groupings of all the things. So we're gonna let those two gals get started. I'm also gonna tell you that from Joey, the note is, don't be afraid, add whatever you want, leave the papers on the ground cherries and incorporate the wholeness, which I like, both physically and metaphorically. So now, while these two are decorating their Flavor Supreme cake, I'm gonna do this recipe that, as Megan said, I found on Tasty for a pineapple upside down cake. So it's actually done in a rice cooker, which many of us have, and I just thought it'd be so much fun to try it because I've never made a pineapple upside down cake, but I do remember my mother doing that. So I've got all the ingredients here, and we're gonna start off with sugar and cream cheese that's been softened. So I've got 3/4 of a cup of regular granulated sugar, and then I am adding into my bowl 3 ounces of cream cheese that have been softened. And this is that moment when I'm always sad that I don't have that cool attachment on a cool KitchenAid stand blender. So I just play with my brown spoon. So channeling Annika, because both of us don't have that equipment. So I'm just gonna try to incorporate that. And then I'm going to add in 2 eggs, 1. And we don't have Mark, Chi, and Dustin here today, so you don't have to worry about vegans, all that kind of stuff. We're doing the real thing, real dairy, real eggs, the whole bit. And the recipe says that this should be able to be whisked, so we'll see. So that's the 2 eggs, the cream cheese, and the sugar all being whisked together. And this particular recipe, I don't know if anyone's cooking along today, also makes a caramel sauce, but I'm trying to lower sugar a little bit in my diet. I mean, clearly. So I'm not going to make the caramel sauce. I'm going to put the whole thing into the rice cooker and see if it works out. So pray for my version of pineapple upside down cake. We shall see.
Always got to leave it to Belinda to improvise.
I don't like following a recipe. It's just the rebel in me. And thank you for noticing that, Megan. I mean, a cocktail, I just say double the liquor. We'll see how it all goes. All right, so now I'm going to add pineapple juice, which I have somewhere here. Here we go. It says to use from the can, but I'm going to add this, and it says 2 tablespoons, but I'm going to guess. Oop. And then you add 5 tablespoons of butter that have been softened. Voila. I did remember to do that this morning. That's going in. And then I also think this recipe is so interesting because the next step is to add pancake mix. Oh. And my mom went to Costco, as she tends to do, and she has keto pancake mix. So I'm going to put that in and see if it works. Keto. Fingers crossed on that too. And then supposedly this batter will come together, and I'm going to pour it right into my rice cooker, and it's going to cook for 1 hour. So if you hang out for the after party, you'll get the big reveal. Otherwise, I'll put it up on social media so you can see whether I succeeded or failed. Okay, so the next part before I pour in my batter is to make those classic pineapple upside down decorations. So pineapple slices with cherries in the middle to line this entire rice cooker. So I'm going to do that real quick. I've got no sugar added pineapple slices. And I looked for Luxardo cherries, but I don't know if you guys ever have problems with your Instacart pickers in the grocery store, but they brought me the old-fashioned kind. So mine are a very unnatural shade of red and made with all kinds of chemicals, but we're gonna go with it because that's the traditional one. Okay, so I'm doing the uninteresting part now. Should we, Mika, flip over to Megan and Morgan and see how it's going with frosting the cakes? Megan, how's it going over there?
It's good. I couldn't commit to not frosting the entire thing because that seems like such a waste of frosting. So we just went and frosted the whole thing. Morgan's looks really beautiful. Mine
wow, Morgan, yours look amazing.
It looks so good.
Oh, wow. These ingredients are so fun to work with.
Morgan, that looks so good. Mine just
oh my God. Wow. Well done. So that lime Lebnet, did you already lick your fingers with the frosting? Because wowza, it's so good.
Oh yeah. I totally licked my fingers after spreading that. It's so tasty.
I also now want to have edible flowers on everything, on my eggs, on my bacon, everything in my life. So fun. All right. Well, Megan, we're going to let your team. What?
What do you say?
Most excited about?
Yeah, I'm really, really excited about Henry's part.
I know. I think it's time. We're ready to learn new things from my brilliant cousin.
It's gonna spotlight you now, Henry. You better come over.
That's right, Maya. You tell him.
He's off doing things. I'm gonna brag about Henry for a minute because I'm so excited that he's here, and I'm so excited for this particular topic. So as Belinda mentioned, I'm a pediatrician. Over here with me is a gastroenterologist. So we have both been in a ton of different hospitals, especially for me, children's hospitals, which you always really notice how much effort they put into making children's hospitals, you know, fun and exciting and welcoming, but you don't necessarily notice when you go into adult hospitals. So I'm really interested in hearing about all of the effort and the energy that goes into making hospitals really good places for healing and for families to come together in places that we wouldn't necessarily want to be otherwise, right? So Henry is an award-winning architect, and he's a thought leader in environment, health, education, and wellness in the US and also around the world. So let me tell you about some of the places that he has helped design, because I think it's so cool. Henry has helped with architecture at Johns Hopkins, at Cleveland Clinic. You guys, these are big names, at Miami, in New Orleans, at Cambridge in the UK. He's also been on teams in Kuwait, in Oman, in Singapore. If you guys haven't been to Singapore, every single building is like immaculately designed. So that's pretty impressive to me. He worked on the Heart Pavilion at the Cleveland Clinic, which won in 2009 the Most Beautiful Hospital Award. Look at that building, the Most Beautiful Hospital Award. He also worked on a project in Singapore that won the American Institute of Architects Award in 2017. So a little bit about his background. He did his undergrad in Taiwan, and then he did his master's at Harvard. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's kind of a big deal. And since then, he's been contributing to health and healing throughout the US and all over the world. So I'm really excited to hear what Henry has to say and what he's going to teach us about today.
And Megan, we also have a little bit of a challenge, and you'll have to enter in the chats. So there's going to be a part of his presentation where he's going to ask us questions, and we'd love for people to give their guess in the chats so we can see if the point is made on hospitality and design. So Henry, we're ready.
Well, I'm ready. And Megan, that was actually fantastic introductions. I tell you, that's always, you know, I don't know about you guys, and every single time I go to the speeches, and the first 3 minutes they call the speaker's introduction, so it's most unbearable. So when somebody else talks about yourself. Yeah, I consider it, you know, so kind of very interesting, because you also answered a question that I might have for you. When you told me that you just work 24 hours, my first question would be, what's your specialties? And in a part of this, and I think knowing that you're a pediatrician and your partners are GI guys, and then, you know, I said I would assume that peace is always uniquely different. So, you know, you're in the medicine, so I know exactly what I'm talking about. But for GI guy, for internal medicine, I think what they will very much appreciate what I'm going to say after. You know, I've been working, and I don't know how many architects are actually thinking about when they actually graduate to go into healthcare or hospitals or in that sense. And then, but I got started my career for Johns Hopkins, and I think once you start working for the hospital like Johns Hopkins, then you got hooked and you understand why they do what they do. And I tell you, one of the things is that the people actually, the architects working for, I would say many of institutions, you know, universities and healthcare. Actually the greatest fun that we have is we work with very, very smart people. And then so they will understand, and then, you know, we can talk about, you know, that a lot of kind of commercial architect actually, you've been driven by the developer, by the cost and everything over there. When we deal with institution, is always purposeful. And then, but the reason I mentioned, you know, for this kind of unique building type for a few years, and then it gets to me that a little bit in action, I say, well, I see the similarity, the parallel, let's say between Western medicine and auto mechanics, right? And I said, you know, so one of my clients was actually Toby Cosgrove, who was the heart surgeon at the Cleveland Clinic. And you know, my reaction pretty much come from what he told me, what he's going to do, how he does it every day. Is like auto mechanics. The reason why I said that, when something goes wrong, right? There are two ways to fix it. You either flush the system or you change the parts. So in a way that you know, that for me was somewhat interesting. And then you know, so to a great degree that you know, if you're looking at the medicine, and then for a long time, I think that, you know, hospital is always designed something like you described as some kind of mysterious place, and then they're typically big, typically visible, but few people actually know what's going on in there. And what's going on in there is that for the past, I would say 600 to 400 years, it has been developed in a way. It's a machine, and primarily it will be a perfect machine that for you, for the doctors to work on it. But there's a major transformation here. Thinking is to start to think about that rather than say you go to the hospital and say, well, you are sick, and a lot of people actually don't want to go to see it. And then you actually, why don't you think that all of us are born with some kind of, challenges, disease, and whatever, something to begin with. So, and in a way, all we can do is actually live our life, and by eating well, exercise well, and enjoy your life, and then get us better. So it's like a different side. So by looking at that, I developed a, sort of kind of I saw that this test actually, I would say in the New York Times a few years ago, and start asking what has been difference between, let's say, from hospitality to hospital, right? So what I'm actually gonna do, give a question, and I'm gonna try to see whether you are able to see, maybe by raise your hand, I'm gonna ask a question. It's the same question for every single slide. When you're looking at it, in this case, especially Megan, I think this will be cheating for you. This image will be cheating for you. But when you look at the image, you need to raise your hand if you think this is a hospital. All right. So, so if you can actually, that I'm trying to figure out a way to watch the.
You know what we can do, Henry? We can have everyone.
I'm looking at Nika's screen, but I would like to actually get that to the gallery view so I can see how many people raise their hands.
Yeah, you can press gallery view for yourself in the top right. Are you able to do it?
I'm looking at the view options.
And Nico, let's show his first one, which is the building with all the glass windows. I see people raising their hands. I think the best thing is maybe for everyone to put it in the chats. Is that easier?
Yeah. I think if there's a image spotlighted, you can't see just the gallery with all the people.
Right. So let's have everybody, if you wouldn't mind, right now we're looking at the glass building with all the windows. And if you can vote whether you think this is a hospital or a hotel, and then we'll all put it in the chats.
So why don't I do this? So I'm gonna just go through all these slides, and I will let Belinda and Megan to tell me how our audience is reacting to this and whether they're good or bad. So this one, this is a, whether the question, this is a hospital or a hotel. It sure looked like a hotel with a glass wall, beautiful window, look like the sky lobbies, what's going on. And I said, this is a little bit unfair to Megan because she knows it. This Laurie Children's Hospital in Chicago. For those who are in Chicago, you're familiar with it. Aha. So to the next one.
So let's see what everyone thinks.
Okay, so let's pause on this one for a minute, and everybody put whether this beautiful space with animal print couches and cool staircase.
Cool tricycle thing.
I know. What's going on there? I've never seen a hospital that looks like that.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks this one's a hotel, Henry.
You know what? And then I think all of you guys have a great taste, and this will be a lovely hotel to stay in. It is indeed a hotel. Yes.
Nice. Okay, so now we're looking at.
We're looking at, I think the colors thing that really matches the pineapple, the thing today very, very well. So what do you guys think? This is a hospital or this is a hotel?
We're getting more hospitals for this one.
Mm-hmm. This is indeed a hospital. This is the Children's Hospital in Alabama, in all the places. How about this one?
That definitely looks like a hotel.
Yeah, everyone thinks this is a hotel.
Well, this is Parkway Novena Hospital in Singapore.
Oh, wow.
Okay, Henry, I'm seeing a theme here. So everything has been a hospital so far, correct?
How about this one here?
That one's beautiful.
Hospital or hotel?
Looks like we're seeing hospital.
We're seeing one hotel, a bunch of hospitals. So
yeah, this is actually indeed a hospital. This is the Cleveland Clinic Heart Center.
Wow.
This is actually my project. This project done by yours truly. How about this large space?
I was telling Megan earlier, Henry, that this reminds me of one of those Indian casino lodges in Connecticut. Not in a bad way, like I've been there and it was really comfortable and I really enjoyed it. So
is it a hospital or hotel?
Mostly hotels, everyone thinks.
Well, it's actually the hospital in Colorado.
What?
Which one? Which one in Colorado is that one?
Right. And then look at this, the place for art, place for science, place for knowledge, and place for enjoyment and peacefulness. Is this a hospital or a hotel?
That's a hospital.
We got a couple of people in the hospital.
This is indeed a hospital. This is also the Cleveland Clinic. And
Wow.
the next one that actually really going to be next to you guys, is this a hospital or a hotel?
Those are from the same place?
But wait, if the entree is grilled salmon with like caramelized red onion with grill marks and it looks like maybe some ramps and all kind, I mean, how could, that's a hospital food?
Garnish.
Yeah, that's a hospital. Actually, that's in the manual for hospital in Detroit.
That's amazing.
And then the one to the right, manual for genitals.
Did we lose Henry's audio for a minute?
No, I'm here. Yeah.
Okay.
So is this a hospital hotel?
I don't know, but I'm ready for like a lift and a you know, all the things at this place.
Are these two pictures of the
Right,
same
yeah.
Henry?
And then you know what you're looking at this is actually, I think the one to the left, the image to the left, you can see the patient's bed. That probably tell the link and the key. That's a hospital. And this is a hospital in Singapore. And if you look at, that's the hospital bathroom, patient bathroom in Singapore to the right. So if you start looking at that, so the reason why they're doing that, this is actually very interesting, is that I just watched something this morning, you know, that the healthcare spending in the last year is about, for this country, is about $3.6 trillion, all right? And that the spending for the, which is about 18% of the national GDP. Now the spending for the food industry, and it's something that food, and the restaurants are part of it. Restaurants about 50% of food. It's about $800 billion. It's about 8%, right? So it's 8%. So if we spend 18% in healthcare and 8% in food, I think we got our priority upside down. And then I think we should reverse that. And then so the most important thing is that, interesting, especially with this group here, if you look at that, you know, for us to be in this kind of pandemic and to see what's going on, especially we have maybe a couple of physicians in this group right now, and then you can actually see the big thing important is about health. And you can actually see, I highlight both healthcare and food security and nutrition. I think this is actually something that we can truly enjoy. We should do very, very well. And I enjoy very much about Belinda, you put on this party. I think this has been great.
Oh, thanks, Henry. Wow. That was so much. I have so many questions. Can I ask, so, you know, we chose this theme of pineapple for so many reasons, because the cocktail and also the cake, but, you know, this hospitality piece, I think it's so interesting. What do you think are some of the facets of these really beautiful ones? And by the way, did you design those things that we just saw?
I designed you can see the one, the Cleveland Clinic, that's my project. I spent 8 years on it.
Wow.
And I think there's a couple of things actually I come out from the Cleveland Clinic project. I thought your audience and this group I enjoy. I shared with one of them last time, and that, you know, I just see, you know, somebody actually make a pina colada in such a few minutes, right? So in a very quick time, you got gratification right away, right? Cleveland Clinic took 8 years of my career, 8 years that I've done. So in terms of getting a gratification is different. But from Cleveland Clinic, I have a prescription from Dr. Eric Popo, and then who is a renowned cardiologist and probably one of the best cardiologists in the world. And from Dr. Popo, tell me taking 1 glass of wine per day, that will do very good for my life.
Oh, yeah. Well, we love to hear that. That's very good
So
affirmation.
I don't know whether that, yeah. Yeah.
Well, Megan, I was going to share, my very good friend, Jeff Wiggs, who's been a guest on the show before. He's the vice president at Forbes Travel. So he does all the ratings, right? He does the 5-star ratings for hotels and for restaurants all over the globe, and also trains. We were talking about like what we thought were hallmarks of people who are naturally hospitable. So I want to ask you about hospitals in a second, but we were saying that the kind of people who do things like this, like you text message somebody and then you misspell a word, are you the type of person who just like ignores it and keeps going? Or if you're the type of person who like can't stand it and then will then send the properly spelled word with an asterisk in front of it? And then my example is, especially for delivery people, which is so crucial these days, like when I order something for delivery, I also tell them that even though my address is on Lakeshore Drive, you should really drive down Delaware Street, which is one way, and go all the way to the end and put your blinkers on in the yellow zone, because my doormen don't care, to make it easy for them, right? So when people ask me for directions to my house, I actually tell them all of that. I don't just give the address, and I also give them suggestions on parking. So when it comes to design, are there some kind of things that you feel are hallmarks of somebody who's thinking like a hospitality person, or who is kind of putting hospitality first?
I would say come down to design. I think that the one big things, and it occurred to be very, very different, and this is in some way, and I see actually the change actually from more or less actually from the physician side, my experience, is that for when I started my career, I designed hospital for doctors, all right? And then 10 years later, I was told by the doctor and says, no, I shouldn't design for doctors. I should design for nurses. and then the 10 years after that, they say, no, I shouldn't design for doctors and nurses. I should design for patients. And then for the customer experience. I think that in a way that, Megan, that others and people in the field, that you actually see the customer experience, and the experience economy it took about 20 years to go from Starbucks coffee shop all the way to get into a hospital, and through hospitality to a hospital. It took a while, but I'm glad it's here.
Right. Wow. So it's almost like those courses that you took from the professors or the books. You're like, just take that chapter out. We don't think like that now.
And then to a great degree, I think it's very, very interesting, because when I started by designing a hospital for the doctors, and then when they learned, they said we have to design for the customers, and then some doctors actually resisted for it, but not the newer, younger generation of doctors, and they all understand that why it's needed, necessary, why it's better, and it actually creates a better outcome, better medicine. Happier doctors, I think the patient feels better too. I would say so for sure. Yeah.
I feel like we have a bunch of doctors here. Megan, do you have any thoughts about that? That's so interesting, right?
It's so interesting that it would ever be like, maybe because I'm in the generation that's like just starting to practice now, but I think it's so interesting that it would ever be suggested to design for doctors instead of designing for patients. Because I think when you design for patients specifically, it benefits everybody, right? Like as someone who stays 24 hours overnight, like one of the hospitals I work at, I'm in a patient room, and the room has like huge windows with a ton of natural light, and you walk in and everywhere is bright and well lit, and there's greenery. Like that's just a better place. It's a better environment to work, right? It's a better place to be. And so for me specifically, like I think that when you have patients who are in specific environments, they don't want to be there. Like no one wants to be at the hospital, like ever, essentially, especially in pediatrics. Like kids don't want to be there. Their families don't want to be there. So I think it's really, really important to make the space feel as welcoming and comfortable to them. I think going around to pediatric hospitals when I was like applying for jobs, when I was applying for residency, you see all of these like little touches that people put in to make the space feel welcoming and warm. And it's like well known that if people are more comfortable and they're more happy, that they heal better. And that's our goal, right? Like our goal in working with patients is to help them heal. And so having like cold, harsh, inhospitable places doesn't really make sense for their overall healing and health. It's going to make them more stressed and more scared, and it's not going to be the most effective environment for them to heal in. So you really see in the Lurie's or places like that where they really take the time and the energy to design a place that's going to be really conducive for the patient, that it helps with the healing and that it makes everyone's experience better overall. I'd always rather deal with a happy patient.
Yeah, it makes.
I was just gonna say I can. Sorry, I gotta mute one.
Oops, Megan has to mute. There. Okay, Nina, go ahead.
We've got 3 in the same space.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that. Oh. Okay, I think we're good now. No, I was just gonna say that I can imagine one big similarity is that in both hospitals and hospitality, I would imagine that the best spaces are designed with the interaction in mind of how the people, all the different people that are going to occupy that space are going to interact. For example, I can't tell you how many clinic rooms I've walked into where they've been designed such that the exam bed is directly behind the computer. So when the physician sits at the computer, which in this day and age, you have to be doing some stuff on the computer, otherwise you're going to spend 2 hours a visit, which is just not sustainable. Your back is directly to the patient. You can't see them. I mean, the exam table is 180 degrees from you, and there's no way to both glance at your computer and see the patient. So clearly, whoever designed that was not thinking about, you know, they know that 2 individuals are going to be in that room, but they're not thinking about what the interaction is going to be between those 2 individuals. And I can imagine that in hospitality, you need to be thinking about, where is my server coming from? Where are the wine glasses coming from? Where are the trays going? To understand that flow and map out really what that's going to look like on a day-to-day basis. And I think that someone, a designer and an architect who can really channel that, is going to make the most thoughtful and best working space.
Would you say, Nina, in those spaces, are those older hospitals and stuff, or are those older hospitals in general, or?
I think she's muted.
Oh. Anyway, Henry, I know that you had a comment about it, so
yeah,
go ahead.
And I think Nina is muted. This is actually in somewhat where actually I think there's something similarity between, I would say, healthcare, hospitality, and restaurant coming to really similar. It's actually about the flow of work and the flow of people. And then, so what happened is that it was actually interesting. When I first started actually designing an operating room, what they actually want me to think about is looking at the time and motion study they done by for the kitchen.
Really?
You know, yes. If you
reach for the spices, reach for the pot.
Exactly, because what happened, what Nina just says, is absolutely right. And I think, for example, the exam room, I will as an architect say, there's a triangle. The triangle is between the doctor, the patient, and either the computer or something that they actually have to deal with. And this is a constant that whatever you want to do, the triangle, you should never have something behind your back. Either you have to turn your back to the patients, which is impolite, or actually, you know, when the door opens, actually protect the patient privacy. All those things have to consider, right? So these are the things very simple. But so we come down to actually the time and motion study. Actually, if you start thinking about that as a starting point, you will actually help the doctor work easier. When the doctor works get easier, they have more energetic, much more comfortable, and they have more energy to treat to talk to the patient. So it's everybody wins.
I think it's so interesting how that applies directly to hospitality, because you think about like a bar is literally designed.
Exactly. Yeah.
To do their work while facing you and talking to you. At a hotel, you walk up to a desk where they may have stuff behind them that they need, but most of the stuff is directly in front of them, so they can type on their computer and look directly at you.
It actually, you know, they don't do actual registration anymore, but, you know, used to, you know, if you're going to the old hospital that you're going to patient go in, they call like almost like a bank teller that, you know, the registrar sitting in the lower and you're looking at it. And then they actually had changed that. That started actually from Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota. They actually want to make sure that everybody is equal. So, you know, when the patient walk in, now you see majority of the people actually behind that receptionist actually either they're standing or sitting on a high chair. They're looking you eye to eye. They're very comfortable. They're not looking at a screen, they're looking at you eye to eye. So the entire, what that happened is this so-called the people experience is what's really driving, I think, all the interaction among people, whether that's in food industry, whether that's hospitality, if ever more important in the healthcare.
Henry, I love that you said that about the eye-to-eye piece, because I've opened 12 restaurants. So we always have this discussion about how high should the host stand be. Have you been to a restaurant like Joe's Crab or somewhere where they specifically have the host or the maitre d' like 6 feet up? So they're looking down on you, and that's really to intimidate you and to tell you like it's going to be a 3-hour wait and you're going to like it. And then, you know, nowadays they don't really do that anymore. It's like that Steve Martin movie, LA Story, where they give you the menu that's as big as your whole body to let you know how expensive it's going to be. So, I mean, there's so many parallels between kind of what I do and what you do. And I think that's really super fun. But we could talk about this forever. But we're going to say thank you now to you and to all of our guests and co-hosts and Morgan for helping us with today's show, because I definitely learned a lot and I got to drink a great drink. So thank you to Donovan.
And then did you guys
So
see the
fun.
decorated over on the side?
Yeah, we want to see it. Let's see the finished shot of the other cake. Nice.
Whoa.
Listen.
I overfrosted it, and then Nina came in and rescued it.
Nice job, Nina. Maybe this whole doctor thing, you know, you could move it into pastry chef.
You're seeing the buds from the back, but it's
all the cakes look so good. Oh my gosh,
this is
Morgan.
gorgeous.
Oh my gosh. That's the style. I just love it.
So pretty.
So exciting.
Oh, she's got a little extra colors in there.
Yeah, she and Michael can have that for lunch. Cake for lunch. Yes.
The color of the flower,
we had-
the color of the cake, and her dress matches very, very well.
That Morgan, she's got some great style. Well, we have some people in the audience today who are going to be with us next week. So we're so excited to say hello to them and tell you what we're up to next week. Nika, I think we have a picture that represents the theme for next week. We decided that the theme for next week is tarts, for many reasons. And as I mentioned, I'm trying to do a little lower sugar. So I'm into a savory tart situation. So this is a gorgeous tomato tart. I'm going to be making a quiche. But Stephanie, I think you're here. Can you tell us a little bit about your product and what we're going to do with you next week?
Yes. Hi. How are you?
You guys, I love Stephanie. She has this really cool business called Ready to Roll Dough, and it's available in Whole Foods, and hopefully will soon be national, but it's such a clever product and it's so good. Tell us everything, Stephanie, in 30 seconds or less.
Well, these are your sous chefs in the kitchen. These are handmade, all butter just of frozen dough that you roll out for your own pies, tarts, and pastries at home. And these are like your mustard and ketchup of your freezer at home. You pull them out, you let them defrost on your refrigerator shelf, you roll them, and then you continue on with your tarts, whether they're sweet or savory. And I'm really excited to be joining you next week, and we are gonna tart it out. We're gonna do free-form tarts. We're gonna talk about savory tarts. We can troubleshoot. We can just try to start scratching the surface of people's love and perhaps fear of making pies and tarts.
I love it. I can't wait to share your product and also your genius. We've been trying to find a way to collaborate for such a long time.
You're so
this
generous.
is going to be really, really fun.
So
and
fun.
then
I'm so excited.
we also have another tart here. Amy, hi.
Hi there. How are you?
Amy is
Thank you.
Brilliant photographer and an activist, and she has this really cool project. Will you tell us just a bit about it? Because we're going to share the whole story next week.
Sure. So super short. Been a photographer for over 15 years, but in the last 2, I've specialized on weekly stories of empowering women. And what I'm finding is we'll often point to somebody else. Oh, so-and-so is phenomenal, but you won't look in the mirror and tell yourself you are. So it's about saying yes embracing who you are, but then pulling up someone else behind you and going forward. So that's where we've been going for the last 2 years. 52 phenomenal women times 2, 104.
Each year. It's incredible.
Yeah.
So you're going to share a couple of those stories and tell us more about that project. It'll be a lot of fun. So I'm going to name all the women 52 tarts just for the purposes of next week's theme.
Well, and I'm a huge fan of pie and tarts in general because I'm coming up on my 50th birthday on the 12th. And every year I always say, no cake, even though I like it a little bit. I'm a pie girl. I'm a tart. It's like, it's perfect. It's kismet that this is coming together.
We're giving them equal billing here at Virtual Boozy Brunch. So we're going to have a third guest that I'm super excited about, Garrett Richards, who is a world-class tiki expert. And if you look at that image all the way to the left, that's a classic swizzle cocktail. And the proper way to make a swizzle is to use a hand-carved swizzle stick. So we're going to be sending these to a few folks, and we're going to swizzle cocktails together with Garrett, who's from Existing Conditions, which is so sad. It just announced it's closing the day before yesterday, I think. So we're going to help him out too and see what we can do. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of the pineapple episode. And my goal is to add a little more movement and a little more dance. So I'm going to play us out with Whitney Houston.